first item. So actually, I've been needing to step away as president for a while. So I think we've come up with a nice solution for now. And I think we wanted just to put it up for a vote. And that would be for me to step away as president and then for Rita to take my place. And here's the thing, as a 501c3, my understanding is that we need to have three officers still. So I think the idea would
Right.
be, so our plan was really basically for Rita and myself to switch places, if that's all right with everyone. So then I would be sort of the treasurer, sort of in name. And I just have some personal stuff that's going on with my family and my 91-year-old mother, and that's kind of what it's been a strong impetus to have me step away. So anyhow, that's what we'd like to propose is for us to officially switch roles. And then here on out, Rita will, take a much more active role in these meetings here on out. So is there any questions about that or any concerns or thoughts or anything like that that you would like to raise or any alternatives? Someone else that would like to be a treasurer or a president or anything like that. Now would be a good time to hear about that. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. And I'm still going to be very easy to contact. So, and there are plenty of people here with a lot of institutional knowledge, much more than I. So, um, and I'll still be on the list and all that. Just, being actively involved on the meetings and stuff. I wanted to be able to step away from. Thank you, Lindsay. So, okay. So if there's, let's see, once again, any other questions or any other discussion that people like to have about this? If you're new and you're wondering, what is this? This is normal. It's not really normal. Normally, we would probably have a change of officers in the fall, in the summertime, and we just weren't able to find. I just wasn't, my um, the previous secretary and treasurer, they were able to do their job really well, and they found Diane and Rita, but I wasn't able to do a good job to find someone to take my place. So this is where we're at.
Well,
Okay.
thank you so much, Taesung, for everything that you've done for this group and beyond. I mean, it's really, I feel like I'll be taking some heavy reins here, trying to take over on this, but I feel like we've got a direction that I feel comfortable with for the next few months. So, and I don't have that much institutional knowledge, so I'll be leaning on those of you who've been around a lot longer.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So can we take a vote? Is everyone okay with this? I guess, are there any objections to this? Okay, everyone's,
Scott, you have an
Yeah.
objection or you have a question?
I'm ready to approve.
Can you make a motion? Can someone make a motion, I guess, right?
I move to swap to Sung and Rita. All in favor?
Do you have a second?
Aye.
Oh,
Second.
Second.
Aye.
Okay, hands
I'm
up,
voting this.
vote. Hands up.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Emmett, vote.
My hand's up. I'm trying
Okay,
to
for
figure it out.
Jennifer, yes. Lindsay, Trisha. Can I get a little emoji hand or?
there we go.
Okay, I got
Yay.
Lindsay, yes. Okay. Patricia, you there? Okay, yeah, thank you, Patricia.
And a
Amy, I
thumbs
see
up.
you. Okay. All right, I think we got it. 1, 2, 3.
There you go. Got it.
Okay, got it. Okay, all voted.
Right. Yeah, Jennifer's not voting, but yeah. Great.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you so much. Do we want to talk about SBAC really quickly here, or maybe
I
this
was
be-
just thinking.
Yeah. So one of the rules that that I've taken on uh, as president of the council is to sit on SBAC. So it would be nice for someone to do that as well. And that usually is in the February to May timeframe. And they meet about monthly or maybe bi-weekly on Tuesdays from usually 4 to 5. And it really would be helpful for someone who does kind of know their way around. So, oh, 4 to 6, that's right. So I thought it was like 4 to 5 or 4 to 5:30. Let's see. But sometimes it feels okay, 4 to 6. So, anyways, it is not winding up just yet, but I'd like to put that out there. That's also something that would be good for people to think about. Anyone can do this. But to be honest with you, the other folks on there have been there quite a while. And so there is a bit, okay, so January 31st. So there is a bit of institutional knowledge. I'm happy to go for a while to kind of overlap with someone. But I just want to put that out there. If you'd like to know what the budget looks like and how the budget process works and meet other folks around, it's a
Can
really
I
great way
ask,
to do that.
Lindsay, is it, I mean, that puts it on Wednesdays. Is it switched to Wednesdays now?
No, para IDK LOL.
Because the
It's
reason why I can't do Tuesdays is I work on Tuesdays. So I just literally can't not do what I usually do at work and go to
I
this.
see you on Wednesdays. Wednesday the 7th of February, Wednesday the 21st of
Okay.
February, and
And
where's
she already sent it out.
March?
I don't think I got the invite.
I've got invites on my calendar. Oh,
Ooh.
and then Thursday the 7th of March. They kind of bounce around a little bit, but I don't see any on Tuesdays.
Tae-sung, does it have to be the same? Thursday would be the same problem. I work until 8 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Does it have to be the same person or do we just need to send a representative?
No, you can have an alternate.
Yeah, you can have alternate. We've had, yeah, like Scott was an alternate for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
But yeah,
good to
I'd say,
have two people because then you're both training each other and being able to like go back and forth. Otherwise, it's real hard. I mean, they're 2-hour meetings, and to be honest, there's a lot of information on them that
yeah,
is
it does
sometimes
bounce around.
overwhelming.
You're right. So it's Wednesday is the first time, second time, the 21st Wednesday.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row, and then it skips to another Wednesday, the 21st of February, and then it goes to a Thursday on March 7th and a Thursday on March 21st. And then they start to fall off. Oh, April 11th, a Thursday. April 25th, a Thursday.
Yeah, see, I don't feel great about taking on something that I know I'm going to be missing that much of.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, well, maybe you can do like a tag team if we know exactly when the dates are.
The thing is that the tag team like will require like the knowledge from the previous meetings because you're going to be asked about prioritization of budget because of the budget forecast this year. And it's not supposed to be just you, it's supposed to be the whole council. Like you speak for the council. So everything moves pretty slow because you got to be able to go back to this group.
Hmm.
So how has it looked in the past for us as a group to discuss these things?
To be perfectly honest, I didn't really bring it up very well here. I tried to instead sort of
You sent emails, long emails,
did
and
I?
gave people, yeah, I think so. Gave people one of your like huge TLDRs, those funny emails. I thought I remembered that.
Well, no, there was one thing. There was one time when she actually sent out something to ask people to reflect on certain things. Do you remember? In IKEA, she it
Yeah, I
was
remember that.
yeah, it was it was
It was a worksheet,
it
things
was a
you wonder
worksheet and
about,
tables
things
and
yeah.
you type in yes, I remember that. Yeah, I definitely did that. Um, but generally speaking, I tried to sort of channel what my understanding was the council's sentiments about certain things and kind of try to represent the council that way. But yeah, it was hard to be able to bring this back very, very specifically because it gets sort of into the weeds. So
It's all weeds, like we like to say. 100% weeds.
yeah, so 131, 221. 321.
The thing is that for many years, the PTA didn't use its voting spot. And so if you're willing to go on the Wednesdays, Rita, take it and then work for that 2 months to find a person that you can train and go to the Thursday ones. You know, because it is, I mean, I know Jennifer's on here, but I'm sure she would encourage us also to use our voting spot. It matters. It is not something to give up.
Yeah, I wasn't
train
going to
seems
chime in,
kind of
but
like
it's definitely an important year, and it's probably one of the most important committees in the district, I would say. It gives you the most voice in what the expenditures are going to look like.
They've said they're cutting down actions this year from 200 to something more manageable. So
what does that mean?
there are multiple overlapping programs that nobody knows if they're effective or not. And with the budget being forecast being what it is, and rising costs of living with a less than expected amount of revenue, there are going to be some hard choices. Plus, the whole organizational clarity concept means that our district cannot do with its staff 200 separate things. We're diluting our efforts into like a place where we don't make much headway because we're, throwing so many strands of spaghetti at the wall. We need to start like targeting our impact a little bit more specifically. And so there's been talk of a strategic plan and cutting actions, and actions are funded programs. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thanks, Lindsay.
And these meetings tend to be they tend to be by Zoom, right? They're going to be the Zoom this year as well, right?
They are all Zoom,
Yeah.
all Zoom all the time.
Yeah.
Rita, you gonna be with me? I'm on the pack.
Yeah,
I'll be with you.
I can go, like I said, I can go the one this week and then next week. It's the Thursdays that I'm concerned about. And it looks, I mean, that's the idea of me training somebody else feels a little laughable too when I'm just starting, but
You just hand them the decks, then the folder.
yeah, okay. Okay. Well, like I said, I can go this week and next week, and then we'll see what happens after that. I don't know.
Okay. So I put in the year, I believe this is the schedule. And I put it in the minutes as well. Okay, I just put in chat. Hopefully I got that right. So a lot of them are on Thursdays and a bunch of them on Wednesdays. So they're going bi-weekly as of February.
I realize here we are sitting here talking about this, and we're all people who have already committed their times to projects as part of PTA for the year. Does anybody know anyone outside of this group of us that wants to be more involved, would be interested in something like this, and maybe had been more involved previously and looking to get back a bit?
I don't
Any-
know. I asked the pack for 2 months straight about anybody who wanted to take my spot on the SBAC, and it was ultimate crickets. People just don't want more meetings, even if it's something like, and we could make a lot of effort and outreach. But again, like we don't even have all the reps of all the schools for PAC. And look at us here. We don't have all the schools repped here. You want to give it to somebody who will actually go.
Yeah.
maybe that's an action item for us to bring back to our schools and put it in the minutes, report back, and it's a call to action. It's like, hey, anyone interested in contact Rita, you think? In the minutes to say, if you know of
Yeah.
anyone, please contact Rita and go from there.
Yeah,
And if
it'd
we,
be, I mean, it'd be either a person who you could sort of envision being a really quick study and just kind of like has a mind for this sort of thing and will pick up on really quickly, or someone who has been involved and then who hasn't been involved is it's interesting getting involved again. I think those are the sort of the two really kind of narrow um, niches of people.
yeah,
Um,
like I'm personally just thinking of past presidents of schools, like PTA, sorry, past PTA presidents at schools, and like, yeah, Lindsay, that would be awesome. That would be actually better. Or past treasurers would be another.
yeah, past treasurers. Yeah, would be really good. That's a really great idea. Yeah. Maybe we have like an alumni list or something. Can hit people up.
We need that.
Okay. Well, maybe we can, yeah, we can see if people can ask around in their networks and we'll try to figure something out. And like I said, I'd be happy to help transition for that. Okay, what do we have next? Something here.
Treasurer's report, Rita.
Yes.
Yeah, so we all got, I mean, there's a handful of treasurers here tonight. We all got messages saying that, you know, we were out of compliance or whatever, saying, you know, our nasty grams saying that we hadn't submitted. What happened was when the paperwork that I sent in, I added all the totem schools as well, saying that they had paid by totem. And then that paperwork also did not, I had added, I think I'd added Ruth Actie, and Ruth Actie isn't on their paperwork for some reason. And so they sent the whole thing back to me and didn't deposit the check. And so I met with their auditor, Kristen, whose last name I can't remember. And she and I went through it and sorted it out, and I sent it, and it's been deposited now, and you know, we're all back in the clear. So I just wanted to sort of report back on that.
Yay.
Yay.
That was great.
I think also part of the treasurer's report, I think we wanted to ask folks, how's fundraising
Oh,
going?
yeah.
How are people doing raising funds? How are your efforts? Just we're half year in and wondering if folks have insight or great experiences, bad experiences about how their fundraising is going.
For Ruth Actie, I'll just chime in. Yeah, quite frankly, it's kind of slow. You know, we're probably, 30, I'll say about 40% of where we want to be. So we've got a lot of wood to chop second half of the school year.
What's your big push, Emmett, in the spring? Just curious.
That's a great question. We have a walkathon that we do every year, and I think one of the issues that we had was that we switched it this year. So we did a readathon in the fall and a walkathon in the spring, and what we learned was that the walkathon really helped with community engagement. People were actually physically at school and they got excited, whereas the readathon was a little bit more, nebulous. So, we've come up with, a couple of different interesting ideas. We did a little bit of we did a mini raffle, on the 100 days. We got a hotel in South Lake Tahoe and donated, long weekends there, and set out one raffle. Each family can buy one raffle ticket for equity reasons. We're that's happening this week, so hopefully that'll bring in some more money. But we're trying to be creative. to kind of fill the gap. I think the readathon, or sorry, the walkathon will get us up to, that's a big one. That's $50,000-$60,000. So hopefully that'll get us up to, this, the 70%, but we do have a really big hole that we're going to have to scramble on. And we do a thing called an annual thing called the Giving Campaign, which is just kind of, a catch-all for everything. And, I think our, push is going to be on that, and, how much, we want to push to say, hey, we're short, please help, versus, hey, these are all the great things that the PTA does, and, we need your money to, to help. And so it's a strange balance. So, but I am a little worried. I don't know if anybody else has any input into. Oh, wow. 193 is fantastic.
That's crazy.
Keep in mind, they're all different sized elementary schools though, too. I can't remember if Emerson's on the big side or the small.
Emerson's on the small side.
Oh, you guys are on the small side, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you're probably raising something like $700 a student or something like that.
Wow. That
How
is
did you get
unbelievable.
193?
284.
That
Oh
is,
my God.
that's
Like,
freaking amazing.
So
Okay,
is that 200, 193? Is that in total, or is that just, just direct giving ask? I mean, I guess I don't know what your budget is.
Dang.
Oh, so you're raising more than that in addition to the.
I'd love to know more about those 3 donors.
I know 284 is not large at all.
Last year there were some very, very large, like we had like a $30,000 donation.
Dang.
oh, wow.
I know.
That was just a generous donation, like no direct ask, no one solicited, it just came.
So 639 per student. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether someone talked to someone, but
Like from a parent? Or
yeah,
was that like, dang.
one of them was, so we had like a 25 and another one that was 30, and one was anonymous and one was anonymous.
That's like I decided to pay my public school as if it was private school for a year.
Exactly. Just one parent, right?
Just one parent.
And that's without corporate matching?
I think so.
Employee
I mean,
matching.
those were.
So I remember a few years ago, I was looking into this a lot more. So if you think about what the average salary is for someone who live in the Bay Area, and if you think about you're donating maybe 1%. Now, here's the other thing. If you look at the IRS did a study on this, and in 2010, they found that the lower your income level, the higher as a percentage of your income that you actually donated. So low income Americans actually donate about 10% of their income, 10%. So that means imagine if people were to donate 10%. So like if you make 300K a year here, or if your combined income makes 300K, which is not a lot to live in the Bay Area, depending on when you like if you rent or if you buy, or if you're buying a house in recent times, 300K is not a lot, right? So 300K, 1%, that's 1% is $3,000. So if you do 10%, which is what typically these low income Americans have paid, that would be 30K. Right? Did I get that right? Yeah. So that's crazy.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Amy, do you feel like people give you more because your ask is so low? $284, you have 284 students. So like, for example, Craigmont is more realistic. We know that a third of parents usually donate, and that means 100 parents. So you divide your goal for the year, which is 140 by 100, and then you get your money. Like, but you just come up with some random kind of lowish number, and then does that mean that people feel more willing to give? Do you get a lot of volume, more participation, as well as your big donations?
Yeah, it wasn't. They're not asking for 284.
Okay, so you got a lot of participation too, volume and just the big donors.
Dang.
Have you guys worked on a lot of community building to get that participation rate that high? Just, or it just happened?
You know, this does make me think, I hate to say this, but it doesn't make me think that it is useful to revamp our numbers of
Yeah, but like that
fundraising.
doesn't take care of the ethical issues of a PTA spending so much of their effort fundraising versus community building.
Well,
Also, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, but I love these giving campaign things because the effort is minimal compared to like a giant auction. And Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know Craigmont, our auction, they're presenting it as community building. So we're gonna have a big party, we're gonna have a band. We hope to make big money, but it really isn't like under the guise of community building, and we still have a giving campaign. And those giving campaigns, you know, all those online efforts, it's so much easier because I believe the auction committee is like, right, a handful of people and they're busting their butt for 3-4 months. Right, Doug?
Yes, yes. We have so uh, we have about we've raised so far this year about 78,000, and we're hoping for 140. So we're about like 55, 56% of what we need. So yeah, we're counting on the auction to do a lot for us. So I don't know where we're at on that. They're putting a huge effort into this auction, which is in March.
Well, Annie is the consummate party girl, so she'll do well by you guys. I promise you.
You know, talking, sort of the next dot on this chain to me is that when I talked with the auditor 3 weeks ago now about our per caps, she was like, why do she was asking all these other questions about Berkeley schools and how and why we do things. And she was saying, like, you guys are not supposed to be paying for teachers, contractors, teachers, any of it. You're not supposed to be doing that. That's not what a PTA is for. Because she had done an audit of Berkeley schools in the past, and she said, like, that's not what this is. PTAs are, it's not their role. So it's amazing that Emerson is doing that. And there's the back of my mind is also wondering, like, do we think that this might speak to, they're supposed to be, right, creating equitable schools all the elementary schools are supposed to be balanced, right? And yet some schools are struggling a lot to fundraise with their PTAs and others not. And so I think that's kind of an interesting thing too.
No, I think it's very surprising. When we first looked at these numbers 2 years ago, I was really surprised that we saw a span of about 2x, around approximately 300 per student up to 595 per student. So yeah, and I know that Nika doesn't like this at all. She thinks that this is a perfect recipe for privatization and inequities. But what do we want to do? Like, give her a $2 million bill and say, okay, we're not gonna do this anymore. You want to just, can you find $2 million in your budget and just continue? We're really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
James.
Yeah, so I watched the recording of one of the BUSD meetings, I think maybe in October, but I watched it too late, and someone was presenting the BSEP proposal, and they're like, I think the numbers were like 53.5 cents or 55 cents. Like, that was the range that they were targeting, and they had done surveys and all this stuff about, how will it pass if we ask for, however much. But are there any other funding sources besides that one could increase? I mean, when I was watching the video, my initial thought was like, why aren't you asking for 80 cents? I mean, like they were like, debating about, I don't know, 1.5 to 2.5 cents. And it seemed like everything was low and the support was strong enough that you could go significantly higher. I mean, there's a limit, right? Eventually people are not going to vote for it. But like, are there other funding sources that could replace the PTA over time? If, or, you know, because the BSEP is like 8 years, right? So that ship sailed. And too bad, but
Well, it's up again in March in Measure Age.
like
But-
there's no way to change it now to say, oh, let's do 65.
Right.
You know, that's done.
Well, oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
I mean, I'm one of the co-chairs of the BSEP campaign, so I'll put that hat on. But I just want to mention, I mean, and Rita and I met up and talked about this quite a bit. You know, part of it is BSEP is such a huge portion of our funding that any jeopardy we put BSEP in is really, we just want to be sure that it's going to pass. That's why we work so hard on these campaigns. That's why we, you know, fundraise so much. That's why we come to you all and ask for, you know, donations and endorsements and volunteers. So I totally understand what you're saying. And I would recommend that more of you all that have that perspective be the voices on like the planning and oversight committee and things like that, because a lot of those decisions are made there just so that we can be sure that BSEP passes or things like BSEP passes. So I just want to explain a little bit of that to you all. It was sort of a combination of polling and then what our oversight committee recommended to us.
We did try that, Jennifer. We had like 3 or 4 meetings to try and talk about expanding BSEP. And
yeah, I was on P&O, so I was there. Yeah, I you know, there are a couple voices. We need more. Yeah.
And what happened? Like, why didn't it expand?
There were just some pretty strong voices on P&O and from my perspective, being at those meetings, just listening, that didn't want to expand the reach of BSEP. And so the reason 54 cents was selected for our renewal was that was what we could be sure would continue the existing programs. So it's not an expansion, it's a continuation of the programs that we currently have in place, which is, you know, to be frank, an expansion of what was offered 8 years ago, right? Because we have included some other things.
I think that's hard to hear on our side because we know while BSEP says it covers an amount, it's like, yeah, but if the PTAs didn't fundraise, you know, there's so many holes that we're plugging that are things that ostensibly fall, you know, if we're looking at what BSEP covers, right, you know, then it's like these things should be falling under that, and yet here we are, PTAs trying to fundraise millions of dollars a year to plug those holes because it's not enough to pay for the services that they're looking to, the people they're hiring or the contracts they're giving. So it's like,
I'm with you 100%. I believe and I think that we should have higher taxes and fully fund education. So I'm with you 100%. I'm just trying to give you the sort of, that was the rationale. Yeah. But I'm with you, Rita. Let's do it.
I mean, does anyone know that this was like our only bite at the apple for the next 8 years? Or like, can anyone say like there is an opportunity?
That's it.
Like
That's it. We're done.
Yeah,
It's done.
you can't
No,
like another
I mean,
ballot measure in 2 years.
You could put forward a citizens ballot initiative. You know, I mean, this is it for BSEP for this particular funding stream. But I mean, 4 years ago there was EGH, which was a parcel tax and 2 bond measures, and those were on the ballot 4 years ago. So
was that more for CapEx, Jennifer?
So EG&H was, the parcel tax was for the educator salary increase. So it was the recruit and retain teachers initiative. And then G&H were bond measures. One was for maintenance and one was for new infrastructure.
Yeah, okay, I remember that.
But there's certainly the possibility. It's just a matter of, organizing it. It's sort of like Measure L last year. That was an initiative that was put forward for streets.
Well, Measure L didn't pass because they didn't specify what that $650 million is going to go to. And now there's two citizen initiatives to fix the roads, that are competing. So if anybody felt up to a full-time job, making a bond measure, we could do that, but it's a lot of work. The BSEP ship has sailed.
Well, I don't know. I think the only thing to do is really to try to provide people with perspective. I always tell the story about this school in Fremont that has 900 kids, elementary school. 10% are free and reduced lunch, which means it's quite wealthy. I asked how much they had in their bank for PTA, and they said 30,000. And I said 30,000 a month? 30,000 what? 30,000 total. So that amounts to about $30 per kid instead of 700. So I don't know, just keep educating people that this is we're pretty much the anomaly. And maybe it'll shift the curve a little bit. But individually you can say, I'm fed up with this and I don't want to have anything to do with fundraising. I want to do friend raising or community building, and I don't want to do any fundraising. You can do that. But the principals are smart and they'll figure out, well, we need to keep that PTA going because you're one of my purses. So it'll just keep on happening. Right. And then after a few years, you realize, oh my God, this is crazy. And then you move on and someone else takes your place and the wheel keeps turning. So I don't know how else this is going to change.
And also, if you dare to say that the financial picture is bleak and how much energy you're spending on fundraising is, you get like anonymous hate emails. So, it doesn't pay to speak up about that it's just easier to opt out.
Yeah. And the other thing is relying on 3 people to help you get to 200K is scary because in a few years, those people are going to leave. So, and then you will have not developed any muscle. Or I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I'm just throwing out there. I don't mean to disparage the work that you guys have done in Emerson. I think that's fantastic. I hope you can bank some of that. But, something could happen. Those people may lose their jobs or I don't know, circumstances can change. And so when 3 people are responsible for the bulk of it, it is a little bit scary to me. So any more thoughts about this? I know Di and I were talking about how hard it is to do auctions and how capital it feels very intensive. It seems like a really great way to build community among the people who are actually doing it. But in terms of the number of hours you put in and the number of dollars you get, it seems like pretty low ROI compared to having really rich friends.
I totally agree with that. The fundraising, our fundraising vice president has put so much energy into it, and basically it's taken up she also is putting a lot of emphasis on it, so I don't know if it's hard for me to tell if she wants to do it or if she has to do it. So there's that. But the problem for us this past year was that we fully funded our art teacher, which we did not want to do. And it was because of the Prop 28 money did not come in, so we had to take a lot of money to fund her, and hopefully next year that money will be there and we won't have to do that. I don't know. I don't know how much we're funding. I mean, other than the art teacher, I don't know if the other Cragmont parents can tell me. I don't know that we're funding that much other stuff besides field trips and like PE equipment and things like that. But
We take advantage of attrition every second we get. So anytime somebody the PTA funds quits or leaves or takes another job, we just shrug and say, oops.
You delete it from your budget line item and just
No, we keep it in and then, and then say, yeah, we're trying so hard to find this 0.15 position. Just that kind of thing.
but yeah, so I mean I think let's see. Let me look at our hold on a minute. Like for a lot of this stuff, I mean, the main thing for the main budget for, or the main cost of this year was that teacher salary. And if we could get rid of that, that would be awesome. And we wouldn't have to worry about that. And that would be a lot less that we would need to fundraise for. So hopefully next year we won't have to.
Well, and I know at BAM, this year we're similar, like we're paying for visual arts, performing arts, and something else. Oh, well, maybe it's PE. But the thing is that with the idea that at least one of those two art programming would come through by Prop 28, but we went with a contract this year specifically because we were concerned that if we hired someone, that the money wouldn't come in. And here we are, now it hasn't. But
I think when we did the analysis of the budgets a year ago, I think we did conclude the majority of budgets were spent on personnel between art and PE. It was personnel cost.
Yeah. Does anyone else, we heard from just a few of us about what their fundraising events have been and how are you guys on target this year? If anyone else wants to share their school. I think we are mostly, Mimota, I know you're middle school now, but I think the rest of us are all on.
Scott, any insight for Willard Middle School?
I mean, so we have our fundraising is behind track. So I think we've raised about 50. Our goal is, I think, 120, 130. But a big piece of that is because we contributed an additional 35K for the library refresh. So that was a joint between the district and the PTA. And basically the fundraising has not, stepped up to match that. But we're due to discuss that next week.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Washington, we have the walkathon, readathon, and then we do the Washington Fund is sort of the equivalent of what I think Amy posted in the chat about Emerson or like other schools have, like it's just a constant thing. We're at like 95,000 out of 180, so I think similar to Cragmont, we're over the 50% line, but we're behind also. We had we've had a couple of $10,000 donations in the past. One of them is from a grant, like it's a parent, but it's from like a an organization that they work with or they know, or I don't know the exact details. They like to stay anonymous. And there last year there was one parent or caregiver who donated $10,000. We get a couple like $2,000 to $5,000 ones, and they often come with the corporate match. But when I ran the numbers last year as part of my spiel for like the budget, I think it was something like, 70 to 75% of the funds come from like 20 to 25% of the families. And that's, just as people have been saying, if one of those drops out or a couple of them drop out and don't get replaced, then you're in a world of hurt. And so I think our PTA is organizing a bake sale this Friday. So we'll see how that goes. I tried to start a parking lot fundraiser. So Berkeley High sells the parking. They have 2 parking lots and they sell it. I think it was like $20 a spot for the Cal football games. And I actually talked to them. They were nice. And they're fairly organized. They have like a doc and how to do all this stuff. And I biked around and I told them that, the other parking spots were like $30 around this area, and they were 40 or 50 like when you got closer to campus. So they might be raising their target to 30. I think that they were gonna to do that next year. But I also didn't want to compete with them because when I went over to talk to the people there, the lot was not full. So one idea is to sell parking for the Berkeley High graduation, because where Washington is right across the street from Berkeley High. I didn't get many volunteers or like that much interest. I think our PTA is very strongly in the community building and not the fund. We haven't had a fundraising person for the last 3 years, I think. Like I send out the thank you emails to donors. It's just so I think we're probably going to come up fairly short. There is talk of doing a spring auction. I'm supportive of it in however I can be, but I'm not thrilled about it for many of the reasons that people here are aware of. And I'm not sure how it will go off. But
Yeah,
yeah.
raffle might be faster, less intensive.
Yeah, and I think in the past they've asked for. I know when I worked with Nicola was someone a parent who before, and like, I wrote emails to like hotels in Santa Cruz and wine people in Sonoma like to get donations so that we could then raffle them off at the auction. But then COVID hit and there was no auction that year, and we haven't had one since.
We've been talking about one of the purposes of our group is to share ideas. And so I love it that, these ideas stemming from, hey, Berkeley High does this, can we do it at Washington? I think it's great that we share. Like there was a question out there about auction. How do you get a ABC license? And someone's like, tell me when you find out. So like, just keeping in mind, if you figure something out and you think the group would profit from it, please share it just from the email list. I think those are great resources for all of us to help each other out.
Along those lines, my husband asked if there was like some way to staff, like, is it against, I don't know what the rules are, or what, is there a way to have like a PTA staff person who like has all this knowledge and you can just go to and ask that person, so that like every school is not just like once people are like out of the office can refer to that person, or like has that all that information, like at the private school I was at, there was a person who was in charge of like coordinating the family association, and she had all the knowledge about, how to put these things on and, what money needed, but that doesn't seem to be a similar kind of way of doing that in public schools. And I don't know if that's possible or if that's ever been done in other districts, or I don't know.
Sounds
Anyway,
crazy. So
Yeah.
basically, pull our funds to hire a professional development officer for all of us.
yes.
Or
Yeah.
historian.
Yes.
Um, so at BAM, which is the only school I've been involved with on the PTA at that level, there's the principal and then several teachers who go to all the PTA meetings. And so when you say something like, well, what did we do before the pandemic about blah, 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 they have those answers. I don't know how we lucked out and got as many teachers. I mean, I think often we have 4 teachers on, and plus the principal, to all of those meetings. I don't know how we lucked out and got teachers so willing to give up some time in their evenings once a month, but it's definitely appreciated, because the only downside is that I will say every once in a while, like they will say, oh, before the pandemic, we did blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I'm thinking, no, you didn't. But like, did you guys talk? Because I think you all talked. And that's not what it was. But largely, really, it's fantastic. And I've often joked that one of those teachers specifically is our historian, even though he doesn't carry that title, because he's been there the longest and he comes to all the meetings. And if you say we need to have a finance committee, he's right there. And, like yeah. But yeah, on a larger level, having a funding a person to do that. Although again, like, I don't know if that's.
So I'm sorry, but what I heard from you, Doug, was like having a professional fundraiser, or were you thinking about something else?
Yeah, well, that or just like a professional, like historian, as Rita was saying, like I mean, that way it's somebody who is in charge of document keeping, so that way you can go, hey, document keeper, what did we do last year and how did we do it? It's not just in, um,
A bunch of Google sheets.
yes,
And emails.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody at Cragmont did an excellent job of putting all these handbooks together. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Doug.
And those are really helpful, but every year the next person has to come back and read through them. And so like when I came in, and Namoda, who's also here, handed off a lot of documents to me too, but it's also, again, like, okay, well, it's a handoff, but at the same time, I have to then go ahead and read everything and reference everything and make sure, like, whereas if it was a person who was hired, they would know exactly where to look for everything right away, instead of having the next person have to read up again on all the things that we did. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I even tried to do a central repository of that with the president's handbook. And even with that, it's overwhelming.
It is.
And
I mean, Lindsay, you did an amazing job, but it's a lot of stuff to like read through, and like it was really thorough, but at the same time, when you're trying to, like, you're a new president or new secretary or whatever, new treasurer, there's a lot of information that you have to get up to speed on really fast.
Well,
Why don't we hire someone to do this? I'm telling you. Seriously, get some Cal students, do this, bang it out 20 hours a week for a semester or two. I mean, hell, we're raising someone's raising $200,000 a school. We got to use that money to help us.
Yeah.
more. No, I mean, if it's, again, several $1,000,000 a year that we're fundraising, Tayson, your idea of hiring a professional fundraiser isn't a bad one either. If
Yeah,
one
but
of
then you get to the point, well, aren't we basically competing with the Berkeley School Public Schools Fund? I mean, isn't that what that is?
but that isn't what that's help. Isn't that something else?
It is something else, but it's also raising money for schools, for our public schools. I mean, it's crazy that we're doing this already again.
Yeah.
But anyhow, like I don't think it's going to change. But yeah, I think it's interesting to think about a proposal to hire a professional funder. It'd be weird, right? Because they would go to each school and help you fundraise, and like, does every school have the same like, I want to beat Emerson, Washington, we want to beat Emerson, I mean, how's that going to work, But anyhow, and what you're
Have an
doing is you're just
auction, have an auction on the same day for all the schools. We all show up, we're bidding against each other on the same items. It'll be awesome.
so we all go to the same vendors and say, can you please give us 15 or 16 gift certificates, from
Yeah, that orthodontist.
Zachary's Pizza or something like that.
Yeah, that
That'd be faster.
$500 a year.
And here's
Yeah,
one
let's
thank
do
you
that.
note,
Are you talking about iSong, Rita?
No, do they do it too? No, Eisman on Walnut Street gives like $500 or $600 for like your first set of X-rays or something. And I mean, that maxed out the page on the silent auction at our school. Anyway,
This is great discussion, guys, but we are at 8:30. If I can do a time check, we do have some other items to discuss.
yeah.
Well, I do like the idea of hiring someone to do all that paperwork. Anyhow, okay. What do we want to talk about? We have about half an hour left, I guess. So we want to talk about after school enrichment, and also we did a lot of work on beep speakers for the next 4 months. And then lastly, we had this idea. Rita had this really great idea of building institutional knowledge. So
I
do we
just
have
think
time to-
so after school enrichment, we can just say like that is one of our sort of upcoming meetings.
Yeah.
And I did put together a spreadsheet. There's only a handful of us here now, but I'm going to send the spreadsheet around again. And it would just be nice to have an updated snapshot of what your PTA after school enrichments look like. And so as we come closer to that talk, I think that's not till
Yeah, it's a
April.
little bit later. But you know what? And also, Rita, we can, like we mentioned before in our pre-meeting, we can talk to Christy and Lisa, because they probably should have this information somehow, maybe.
Yeah, it's more. I'm guessing we need an up. My thought is that we probably need an update from what their information is, because I thought that
Yeah.
they didn't gather that in the last year or two.
Yeah.
And what would the speaker do, or what is the agenda for the after school enrichment? Like what?
So that's, well, here, let's get to that in about 90 seconds.
Okay.
So what's your question first?
So Rita, that was so my question is, so I wanted to see if we could get just a little bit of attention from this group about getting additional representation for the collaborative working group that we have with the district. So so we have someone from BAM, we have someone from Thousand Oaks, but Craigmont, Emerson, John Muir, Malcolm X, Oxford, Rosa Parks, Ruth Exey, Sylvia Mendez, and Washington, we are missing. And I don't think it needs to be, I mean, I think it would be ideal if it were a board member. It doesn't have to be a board member. I think just someone who has their kid in the after school program at those. So
When you say after school program, though, you mean Harris Learns,
either Learns or Bears,
but not enrichment. So that's, again,
not, I mean, right, not necessarily the PTA enrichment, right? Because it's really a meeting with the Learns Bears people.
right.
So,
Which is part, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm wondering,
Can you
go ahead,
send,
Doug.
yeah, can you send information about what it is you need from whoever rep is? Because there is a lot of concern about Learns and Cragmont, and I think if I could get one of those parents who is concerned to get on this, that would be great.
So I put a link in the chat. Can you see if you can open that up, Doug?
I see it.
Okay, so that that's an email I sent out back in November, and it has a good summary of what we're doing, what the ask is. It's, one meeting once a month, 1 hour.
Okay, got it.
Okay. And then since we've got some folks here, like, James, could you be a point person for Washington to forward that to the board there to see if we could get someone there? And then Emmett, would you be willing to take Ruth Actie?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then who I've already been working, Amy, any luck in getting in chat me? And Jamie, which school are you again?
John Muir. Yeah, I'm happy to pass.
Yes. Can I put you down for that? And then do we have anyone from Malcolm X? I don't think so. Oxford, Rosa Parks.
Patricia was here.
Oh
but
yeah.
she
She's
dropped off, I think.
Patricia is, I know Patricia. What?
It's
She
Oxford.
was Oxford.
Okay, I'll follow up with Patricia. Rosa Parks. Anyone know anyone there? And then Sylvia Mendez. Okay. All right, Rita. That's it for, we have another meeting coming up this Thursday. So
Fantastic.
thank you.
So maybe the next thing is to look at our flyer and talk a little bit about our meeting.
Rita, you're trying to share your screen.
No, Di, do you have it
I
available?
think I have it.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know you were asking me to do it.
Sorry. Drum roll.
Want me to share?
We got
Is
it.
it okay if I share? Okay.
Nice, very nice.
So yeah, so Chris Albeck will be talking to us next month. He's the director of curriculum and instruction, and there's changes coming up to that. So that'll be, again, sort of like a kickoff. Let's try and get as many, again, people involved with PTA already, but hopefully people who aren't involved yet at all and, would be interested to start getting more involved. Then the
This is, yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say this is a draft too. In terms of the flyer and everything, but these speakers
Can
are.
you share it with me as a contributor on Canva or however you made this? I'm gonna fix some stuff.
We didn't want to bug you, Lindsay,
We
but
didn't want to bug you, Lindsay,
sure.
but we were
I
afraid
did it
that
on
you might have
Canva.
to do this. So
Lindsay, I have one person looking at it now, so when I get it back from her, I'll send it on to you. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay. And then hopefully we can fill in some more here.
This is gonna be print or email or both? You want an all-purpose flyer?
Both, I
yeah,
think, because as we were talking about this, especially middle and high school, I don't think sending things, we were thinking that we'd have posters at the elementary schools, and then for everyone, it would go home in the newsletters.
So electronic, basically digital.
Fair enough,
digital.
both.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not actual physical flyers, because I think that would be overwhelming and expensive.
It is super expensive. It's not necessarily worth it.
yeah, and I think we're gonna have a bit.ly or a tiny URL instead of Zoom link. But anyways, this is.
No, you can use the QR code, but you should have all three. Anyway, that's why I just asked for the edit. I'll fix it all for you guys.
You're awesome. Thank you.
So I have a question. I think, we're lining up these speakers, but I think we'd want to ask the group, like we'd want to have questions, right? That we want to send off to these folks. Like Chris Albeck has already said, hey, what do you want me to address? He can go on and on and on and present, but I think, our unique perspective as parents, what do we want to know from him?
Right, and we also have this idea we also have this idea of the PTA hook, remember? Something that sort of is also a little related to PTA. You know, a question that, you know, you would ask as a PTA. Like, for instance, Chris, what do you think about the fact that we raise millions of dollars to pay for your teachers, you know, or something like that, you know, something along those lines.
Like that, but nicer.
Yeah, exactly. Not snarky or anything. Without snark.
We don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are pretty finalized. Well, the last one is the panel speakers is transitions um, from elementary to middle and middle to we thought that could be a parent thing. We also thought we could ask Francisco to come back. He said he'd be willing to come back after March or April to talk about middle school enrollment and give an update on that. So that's up to you guys if you think that would be interesting as well.
Well, I love that you guys are doing a flyer, that you're pushing like a calendar. And I think that it's gonna, I think we're gonna increase by at least 50% our attendance, especially for the superintendent. We always get like a nice, huge thing for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And then I think in the fall, wouldn't be too hard to line up 4 people for, you know, October, November, December, September, you know, September through December. So I think this could be a great way of going forward with this organization.
So the speakers, right, we would have them part of our meeting, but then, you know, another part of the meeting will be for discussion and people to bring up topics to keep, right, addressing issues that they may want for discussion, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll be the hook for the new people to come in and say, hey, you know, we have these speakers, but we talk about really important things that affect you. So please keep coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's and to remind people at the beginning of the school year, the three of us met and kind of came up with sort of the sort of kind of 4 missions of the PTA Council. So one is connecting people to each other. So we try to do that with the email list and with sort of these ad hoc conversations about, you know, like what we've been talking about, right? Sharing things or sharing common problems, common solutions. The other one was information, so something like this. So disseminating information, learn more about the district, more about what's going on at the district level. A third one is to develop institutional capacity. So maybe we can hire somebody to write up all of our documents. I'm really liking that idea. Institutional knowledge, and we'll be talking about that in one last item on the agenda tonight. And the fourth one was, I forgot, outreach to other members of the community or something like that. But anyways, I think this is still in keeping very much with you know, these ideas of what it is I think that the council is uniquely positioned to be able to do. Okay, any other thoughts or comments or concerns or anything like that?
Or ideas of questions for Chris. I mean, I'll probably send something around asking for questions of the, you know.
Yeah, we
But
can do it the way we do for Nikia. Yeah.
yeah, the trouble is that, again, I'm hoping that the people attending these won't just be the people who are on that list already. So my hope is that we can reach a much broader audience with this than our list.
Yeah, so right. So I think our ask for all of you is to get this out to your respective communities, really, in a big way.
Yeah.
If you could.
You know.
There's a nice flyer and everything. So
And this hasn't been posted yet, right?
No, give us probably to maybe
Okay.
end of the week, and then we can have a
Great.
active flyer.
yeah. And of course, Lindsay, if you have input, we would love it, obviously.
Yes.
You know, I can't stop myself. So like I'm itching now. Yeah.
we had mixed feelings about it. Well, you know, Lindsay's going to see this and she's going to want to do something about it, but we don't want to also bother you as well. So, just, you know.
Yeah, you know me well.
The one other thought that I wanted to bring up tonight, which while we're looking at the flyer kind of brings us to the structure of, we were just talking about the structure of the meetings, how it'll be, you know, first chunk will be the speaker, and then the last chunk will be sort of more what we're used to as a PTA council meeting. But in between, you know, we've got on our agenda tonight, oh, I just lost my agenda. We have on our agenda tonight the idea of sort of bringing more institutional memory as a component to what these meetings are by spotlighting different roles. And so after the main speaker, we'll kind of segue into, and now is our regular PTA council meeting. We'd like to kick that off with a spotlight on what does this committee do, or what does this person do, right? As a means of, for, you know, again, for these positions that only last a couple of years, everyone sort of moves through, and you know, it would be helpful to have a better understanding, you know, of what different roles are, what different committees are. And so that's the sort of next, I think that's the last agenda item we had tonight to talk about. But that's another one where we'll be, you know, looking towards all of you to share your experience, or to even, you know, again, tag other members of your PTA that might be serving in these other capacities.
And the idea behind that was was that we think of a PTA as sort of the gateway for most parents. Like, no one knows about all these other alphabet soup that we have throughout the district. Like, even to me, like even to this day, I don't really know the difference between PAC and P&O, and I don't really want to know the difference right now. But everyone knows what a PTA is, and so when you get started in getting involved in the school district through the PTA, and then eventually maybe the council, perhaps, and then it's not a, you know, and then if there was a way for a role that we could play to help educate people, like, oh, by the way, did you know this thing called P&O? There's something called PAC, about LCAP, about the DLAC, all these different other committees that you might be interested in getting interested in. You know, if you know, done your tour of duty with your local PTA and you're kind of interested, and you're still kind of, you know, potentially interested in something else, here's something else that you can, you know, learn about and get involved with. So I think that's also another thing that the council can be really well positioned to help kind of bring in that talent pipeline, if you will, that volunteer pipeline into the other parts of the district.
Yeah, and something that was brought up earlier, the idea of having a, you know, grad student at Cal, you know, help on a project basis to get some real life experience. I think, you know, is a really great idea to task somebody who is, you know, who owns this.
Yes. And what you just said makes me think of outreach to unrepresented or you know, very low represented demographics and families in PTA, right?
Yep.
That could be really fantastic. That could be really great. I can imagine some Cal students like really finding that intersection really interesting.
And ChatGPT might even be able to do it by itself.
Yeah, there we go. Let's just go to the EECS department. Yeah. Forget about it, School of Education. So any thoughts or other feelings about that, or reactions? I'll just stop sharing here. Okay, I think that was, did we cover everything ish? Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, Jennifer.
Since you have just a few extra minutes, can I make a plug, since you all don't do enough for our schools? We're out walking every Saturday and Sunday, meeting at 10 a.m. at BSEP headquarters. So if any of you are interested and willing to send out a plea to your networks to get folks out and knocking on doors, we know that BSEP is popular, but we've got to get out the word about what it is and why it's so important. So we'd love to have you join us.
And where's BSEP headquarters, Jennifer?
It's at 1652 University Avenue.
Okay.
Thank you.
And is that where people can get signs? Is that right as well?
Yep, or you can email me or go to our website. I'll put it in the chat in just a second and sign up and we'll deliver a sign to you.
Okay.
And Washington Elementary, we still need your endorsement, so.
I think someone is, Bima's coming to our
Oh,
board
yay,
meeting.
great.
Yes, I've mentioned it to them and they're finally moving, so.
Thank you so much for that.
Yep.
And Willard has it on the agenda for next week also. Bima
Yes.
reached out to us.
Thank you so much.
Scott, I think Doug had a question about Learns. Is there someone that can come and speak at Craigsmont's PTA?
About Learns?
Yeah. What?
Well, what along the lines of like getting people involved, like, so I've been doing these kindergarten tours, which Namoda did last year, and now I'm doing them. And there's a lot of people coming in concerned about, you know, what is the after school program, and is there enough space, and how do we get in, and all that good stuff. And people just aren't aware of, you know, what it takes and how it's funded and all these different things. And I think if we had somebody come to our meeting, it would actually increase our attendance also, but also bring more awareness and also maybe get people more involved in saying, hey, we need to do something about this. So if I could, I'll send you a message offline, tell you what the next meeting is, and then somebody can come and I can promote it as like, are you concerned about Learns? Come to the meeting. And one of the things that Cragmont we're doing for we decided to do for our general meetings is the same thing that you guys are doing, which is having a speaker for each of the meetings to promote attendance. So I was hoping to get a neurodiversity person, but if Learns is willing to send somebody or have somebody attend and like give all the information about like get involved so that you can get your kids into Learns, that would be great. And I think we'll and what we're gonna do is have like official kind of business in the beginning and then a speaker and then kind of new business at the end. So yes. So that's our goal. So Scott, I will message you about that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Is there
I
any?
move to adjourn.
Yes, okay. Di, can we second that?
I will second that.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll see you all next month, everyone, for Chris
Thank
Albeck.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.